This episode of the Fire Dog Podcast is supported by Roll Call Coins. Founded by a 24-year Air Force firefighter veteran, they understand that a coin represents more than just an event. It represents a story. Using 3D modeling and custom textures, Roll Call has moved beyond generic designs to create premium, standout coins. Whether you're honoring a department or branding a business, they make the process effortless. Start your design today at rollcallcoins.com and let your coin stand out in the stack. This episode of the Fire Dog Podcast is supported by AOS Services, the one-stop shop for firefighting equipment compliance built for the DoD. At AOS Services, they help military fire departments stay mission-ready with customized programs that bundle everything from SCBAs and compressors to hoses, ladders, PPE care, rescue gear, and more. Their teams work worldwide, so whether you're stateside or overseas, they've got you covered. For all your firefighting equipment compliance needs, visit AOSServicesinc.com to learn more.
This is the Fire Dog Podcast.
The views and opinions presented on today's episode are those of the speaker and do not necessarily represent the views of the Department of Defense or the United States Air Force.
Welcome, my name is Matt Wilson, and thank you for listening to episode 68 of the Fire Dog Podcast. In this episode, Austin and Chris sit down with Corey Gotay, who began his firefighting career in the 128th Wisconsin Air National Guard in 2020. He was a top graduate of Class 8 of the DoD Firefighter Rescue Survival course in 2023, and he went on to become an Indiana smoke diver in 2024. He's now a civilian firefighter in Wisconsin and is attending an accelerated paramedic program while competing in CrossFit. This conversation is about choosing discomfort, chasing growth, and being a true student of your craft. It is my pleasure to welcome to the podcast, Corey Gotay.
Hey, welcome to the Fire Dog Podcast. We're back for another episode. I'm joined here with Chris and Corey. Corey was once a DoD civilian that has been successfully completed the Indiana Smoke Diver program. So welcome to the show, Corey.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so let's just start off with a little introduction. Tell us about yourself, your origin story, if you will.
Started fire school in 2015, graduated in 2018 with an associate in fire. Goal was to work full-time somewhere. At that time, it was very competitive. You're talking 2 spots, 400 applications on suburban departments. Milwaukee was, 2,500 people in that process all the time. So couldn't get in. Started as a private EMT then full-time for a company called Medicare. Doesn't exist anymore. Ran about 90% fire calls, 10% in facilities. Roughly 2018 came and I decided I wanted to get my paramedic for sure. So I started gearing my career towards advancing my skills there. So kind of forgot about the fire side a little bit. Ended up being a ER tech first. Did that for about a year. Still was having a hard time finding a way to swing paramedic school in that. And I obviously have, to live and still pay bills. So can't really just quit my job if no one's going to pay me to go to paramedic. Ended up getting offered an opportunity to be an anesthesia technician. So I thought that it would be a great opportunity to start on an ambulance like I did, see patients that come in via us, end up in the ER where we now receive the patients, do all the acute care there, and then end up in surgery where it's kind of like the final stop, right? If you don't make it in surgery, you don't make it. So did that for 4 years. In doing that, I had applications and stuff out. I tried to get a job again, maybe, I think it was 2020 is when I got hired with the DoD. So I took that job. It was my first full-time fire job. I guess I didn't understand what it was at first. Didn't realize there wasn't as much structural stuff other than the structures that were on base. Didn't realize it was ARF. Got sent to get my ARF certifications and all that stuff when I got hired. Did that for about 3 years, and then I hit that point where it was either I was gonna make a move and be on a more aggressive department and run more calls, or I was gonna stay there. So I decided to make the move. Ended up doing FRAS, did smoke diver, and then 2 years I've been on a municipal department. We ran about 13,000 calls a year, so decently busy, and just totally fell in love with the fire side again.
So you put down that there was a video about the 3-year fireman. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what kind of made you motivated when you watched it?
Yeah, so I was at still in 28th, and I was sitting down. I think I was in the bay, and just on my phone, and yeah, I saw this video that pretty much said, a 3-year firefighter is a dangerous position to be in. At that point, you've already passed, you went through probation. You're kind of starting to get settled in with the guys, and you kind of make that decision on what you want for your career. Some people will be a little more aggressive and either make that move at that time to go somewhere busier, or maybe get that certification they've been holding off on for a couple of years or whatever it is. Um, and some people will just sit into it, and they're just going to ride a recliner, essentially, not do anything, be happy with collecting a paycheck and not running calls. And I kind of decided that that wasn't going to be me. That's not who I am in general. And when I first sought out to be a fireman, I definitely had more set out for myself than that. So I kind of caught myself getting into this comfortable position, and I didn't want to do it. So that's when I learned about FRAS. I think that year we had a huge training budget, and I did a lot that year. I went to like FDIC, went back home for the weekend, did FRAS the next week. Like, I was just trying to take in all the knowledge. But yeah, that 3-year position was where I was at before I was like, this isn't for me, and I have to change it.
I feel like there's so much truth to that civilian side and in the DoD, where that 3-year point, right? Civilian side, you're off probation. You kind of know the crews. You're getting settled. In the DoD, enlisted side, you're probably a senior airman. You're starting to just kind of get a feel for how things are. And
Dude, it's
it's a
that
major
5 level,
decision.
man. Get that 5 level, and you're like, I'm good now. I can
Right.
relax, play Xbox. I had the same realization, man. So I resonate with that a lot.
Yep. You're in the E4 mafia, right? You got, kind of lay of the land, and it's a real decision making point of, hey, I'm good now. Am I gonna coast, or am I gonna, find what that next thing is? And so that next thing for you was FRAS, right? You found it in that exact
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, we had did like a air consumption course at the 128th. It was actually interesting. At this point, I can openly admit my physical fitness was not anywhere what it was. I think, we just talked about this, right? I'm 30 years old, so I think I wrestled in high school, and once you get out of high school, you almost have this idea, if you were an athlete, of like, your metabolism is going to stay the same. You can do everything you want to do now, and that's fine. I'll train in a month. I'll train in 2 months. And when I came to Wisconsin at 19 years old, packed all my stuff, sold one of my vehicles, put everything in my truck, came up here. Um, I had this idea of like, oh, I'll be fine. It's not a big deal. Went through all of fire school. Oh, it'll be fine. Working full time. It's not a big deal. Never really touched the weights, hit the gym. And it was ignorant of me to think that I can maintain the level that I was at when I was 16 and 17 years old, weightlifting 3 hours a day, running, wrestling for 4 hours a day. It's impossible, right? And then it opened my eyes when I hit like even just the CPAT, where I was just like, wait a minute, like, what's going on here? So I think it was funny at that time when I saw that video and had that turning point, and I found FRAS. We had this little air consumption course our training chief had made for us. The whole department did it, and I had beat everyone on the air consumption course, but like, I didn't have at all the stamina that I used to have, So that was kind of an eye opener to me, and I'm just like, what is going on? And then FRAS was a thing in motion. I remember my training chief saying like, "Hey, you're gonna get the patch," and I'm like, "What is the patch? Like, what are you talking?" I had no idea what I was going for. I just told you guys I signed up for a ton of training classes. To me, it was just like, "Yeah, this is like RIT training and stuff like that. Cool, sign me up." And he's like, "Oh, it's like the no slack patch." He's like, essentially you have to get everything done. And I didn't know this at the time, but like the way they want it done, and then you can get the patch. And he's like, "It's kind of like a hard thing to do." And I was like, "Well, yeah, if I'm going, I'm going for the patch." And yeah, I went to FRAS with like a month's notice. Um, was training a little bit, and yeah, I had no idea that was like a train. Like, once I got to FRAS, I was like, this is not what you think it is. I mean, I remember sitting on that line just with everyone else, just with my pack, just like staring. into what was like the abyss for me, because I'm like, it was just a wake up call. It was a math, and people are going to take that two different ways. People are going to sit there and they're going to take that wake up call and they're going to say, I don't need to do this. This doesn't prove anything. This doesn't mean I'm not going to be a bad firefighter. This doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to make that grab. This doesn't mean that if a guy goes down that I'm not fit enough to do it. Those people should really evaluate that. And it's going to, the other end of that is, I need to fix something. You know what I mean? People are calling on me to come get them in this kind of situation, or, people are calling me on the worst day of their life when their child's stuck in a house, and like, I want to be this guy, and this takes work. And when I was at FRAS, I was this guy, and I was like, it needs to be fixed, and I figured that out quick. And it just like changed. I mean, my career, my whole outlook. Just listening to Chris talk, like in the morning when he would give the speeches, I'm like, I was locked in. I was ready to go. But yeah, I had no idea about FRAS. I just 3-year firefighter video. FRAS came, and then we were in it, and that was pretty much it.
So that was Class 8 of the DoD Firefighter Rescue and Survival School. You not only earned the no slack patch, you were recognized as the top performer in your class. And I know you would never brag on this yourself, but Austin, Corey still has the air consumption course record for the entire DoD Firefighter Rescue and Survival School. It hasn't even been close to being touched now after 17 classes. There's a air consumption drill where guys start with the equivalent of 3,000 PSI on a 60-minute cylinder. You do an air consumption obstacle course until your low air alarm activates. And then your job is to call your mayday and shelter in place, simulating you're trapped, say, in a commercial structure, and you're waiting for command to,
Right.
get somebody to you, right? You're able to isolate. And Corey's total time on air was 1 hour and 51 minutes.
It was long. I don't
Wrestlers,
even
dude.
know.
Wrestlers, they're a different beast.
I don't know. I was sick as a dog too. I had like a sinus infection. I remember trying to breathe and like snot was just pouring into my mask. I had no idea I was down that long. I just remember people coming up to me and they're just like, keep going. And they're just like, some people would ask, like, is he awake? Is he taking a nap? And I was very much awake.
Sleeping.
I just was, after that drill we did at work, I'm just like, oh man, I had it locked in my head the way I was going to breathe. I did it. And I mean, I think if you put yourself in the actual scenario, which maybe some people didn't, some people were probably just tired and they probably were just leisurely taking a breath. But like, I was in the scenario, like you said, like, that's it. You're done. You have 1,150 pounds left. Somebody's got to come and get you. You know what I mean? And going through the course, and after you get to day 5, you kind of realize how much time it actually takes to get somebody down that's in it bad. You know what I mean? It can take some time. You need every bit of that air. So I think I was in the scenario, and I believe that. And yeah, I dragged it out as far as like everyone hated me because we extended the class by like 2 hours that night. Chris comes out, he goes, all right, we got stuff to do. And I'm just like, not enough oxygen getting to my brain. I'm like, wait a minute, I've been breathing like a fish. It was insane. Yeah, fun times.
That's a resting air consumption rate of 13 psi per minute, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I
so
didn't even know a bottle could last that long.
So tell us how your perspective changed after FRAS.
Oh man, I knew when FRAS was done that I would have a target on my back. Anyone who finishes it is, you talk about mediocrity, like people are going to look at that and it's almost like a projection of themselves not going or not wanting to do something like that. And it's an immediate target on your back of, you think you're better than somebody else. I knew that was coming. So my life after FRAS immediately was, you think you're top of the line because you went through this course and you're not, and nothing from me. I didn't go back and tell people I broke the record. I didn't go back and say anything. I went back and I told people, you should try the course. Like it's a good course. I think you'll learn a lot. And it was honestly tough. It was tough for me with other people, but internally after FRAS, I was like hungry. I was like, get me the next course, the next whatever it is. I was excited to go back as an instructor now that you have the patch. You're allowed to go back and teach. I was super excited about that because you learn when you go back. I don't go through FRAS and then remember everything. Every time I go back, depending on who's the lead, you might learn how to do a skill in a totally different way, which is great. It's another tool in the toolbox. So as an instructor, and almost every instructor that I know of will tell you, like, you will learn almost more when you go back. So that changed. It made me want to get into the teaching world a little bit more and be a good resource for that. And again, going back is what even got me into smoke diver. I went back my first time. I met some of the other smoke divers that weren't there because some smoke divers come to help out. And I asked some questions about it, and you could just tell when I saw some of these guys in black shirts, like, these guys are, they got it. They're not walking on the fire ground, even though they're the instructors. If there's something that needs to be done, these guys are hustling, they're moving. You can just tell when you see a smoke diver on the work ground. It's just a totally different animal, and I'm like, man, I want to be like that guy, even when Chris would talk in the mornings during FRAS, I'm like, I want to be with that guy, like that guy. Or Bender, I want to be like that guy. And when you surround yourself with these people, which for me happened a lot after FRAS, you kind of just almost feel a pressure to be better. Now, that could be a good for some people. It could be bad. I think it's great. If I'm the smartest person in the room, the strongest person in the room, I'm doing it wrong. Like, I want to be at the bottom of the barrel, and I want to try and to get to the top. You know what I mean? And I want people that are constantly, because you almost feel obligated to do that, and to train whatever it is, and that's good because we need that. That's our profession. So I think after FRAS, really hungry for knowledge to be a better fireman. My fire side sparked again. I told you guys it was mainly EMS. I kind of started forgetting about fire. Like, I was really eager to get back to that. At the time, one of the guys who was in my last team, and he ended up being my partner in the beginning of Smoke Dive, Rawson, who recently passed away, was talking about how he was going to go to smoke diver, him and another guy. And I had no intention of going. Now, although I was talking to these guys and I was still trying to learn, I was still in this realm of, even though you pass FRAS, I didn't feel like I could be on the level with these guys, you know what I mean? But Rawson's like, dude, I'm signing up. And I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. And I almost felt like I got to do it then, right? Like, Rawson was in my class, me and him were in the final scenario. I was like, I got to do it. So I put my name on paper. I put pen to paper because I knew if I did, that if the opportunity came, I would train. Like, I know myself well enough to know if someone says, okay, you wanted it, here it goes, the only excuse I have is not training. It's me. The only one I can blame is me. So I put my name on paper. And then after I did that, I remember I started training kind of a little bit here, a little bit there. Didn't really know what I was doing. And then Chris called me one night, and he's like, "Hey, are you serious about going to smoke diver if you get in?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I could swing the vacation time or whatever." And he's like, "Okay." And we had a conversation. That was the end of that. I remember the smoke diver list got released, and I was number 1 on the alternate list, so I didn't even make it initially. And I was like, okay, I got time, no big deal, you know what I mean? And next day came, and I got an email that said, you've been moved to the list. And I was like, oh, I was like, there's no getting out now. You know what I mean? I was like, it was like a totally, I even have goosebumps thinking about it now. I remember looking at my name, and I was just like, that's it. Like, it's go time. And training totally shifted. I mean, I was training 6 to 7 days a week at that point. Like, my mobility increased, my strength increased. I went from 152 pounds to 170. I was like, everything changed for the 3.5 to 4 months. I was working out twice a day, some days. It was insane. So after FRAS, that's the answer to that question, is hunger, and we're going for it. That's what it was.
So backpedaling just slightly for the people that might not know what a smoke diver program is. So you signed up for this thing and you were kind of on an alternate list kind of deal. And then if somebody falls or drops off, then you're kind of put in on the roster more or less.
Yeah. So they pick a certain amount of in-state guys, and they pick a certain amount of out-of-state guys. I was an out-of-state guy for Indiana. Depending on where you are, I mean, I think that year they got 200 some applicants. Once you get selected, there's an alternate list because people change their mind. Like, once the list comes out, a guy might get that list and be like, nah, I'm not doing this, or I got a promotion, I can't go. They're like, okay, so they move that person off the list, and then they go to an alternate. So my guess is as soon as they put out the list, somebody got back to him and said, "Hey, I can't do it," and they pulled me.
And then
We
also, just for some of the listeners that might not even know, what even is the smoke diver program?
Smoke diver, the best way to explain it from my perspective, honestly, Chris would probably be much better at explaining this, but 6-day course. I'm not going to tell you 60 hours. It's when you're done, you're done. 6-day course. Um, very, very like vigorous PT, and pretty much you're going to be in the situation of training where you need to learn how to make decisions when you're absolutely at your lowest. You're talking about a day where you just got beaten to the ground, and then here comes that fire that's coming out, and you just gotta work. You just gotta know what you're doing. But more or less, it's like the ultimate test, in my opinion, of you. I tell people all the time, if you want to learn something about yourself, go to smoke diver. Right? This isn't for like the weak-minded, and I hate to say it like that because I'm not like saying anybody's weak-minded, but like this isn't for the person that's like, coming in thinking it's going to be all hugs and sunshine and rainbows. This is for the guy or gal that like works good under pressure and understands the job, understands what it takes, and that it's serious. Because there are some of us out here that understand that going to a burning building with 60 to 70 pounds of gear and a limited amount of air and not being able to cool down because your entire body's covered is hard work, and it's not going to be easy. Like, some of us understand that. And if you understand what a fireman actually is and like what could be called upon you one day, like this is that course. This is the one that's like, this isn't a joke. You know what I mean? This isn't meet the minimum standard. This is, you need to be up here. So when people say, "Hey, you're a fireman," when a kid looks at you and says, "Oh my God, you're a fireman," like it makes you like feel like you fulfilled that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I have like this actual like title. So if you're gonna go to smoke diver, it's like that's what it is. It's hard to explain in words, but you're gonna learn that about yourself. They're not pushing you out. Smoke diver is not in the business of making people quit. Smoke diver is in the business of you discovering yourself. And that very much was me. Even though I passed the course, oh, I learned. So I left. There's a part of me that's still on that spade in Indiana. It's insane. I'm not even
Right
joking. I
on,
go
dude.
back there and I
That's
look at
awesome.
that and I'm like, that's a battleground. I look at that spade and I'm like, whew, there was a guy here that died, a part of me that died. I was just like, it's insane. And I'm bought into it. Like, I believe it. But, some people hear that and they're just like, oh, smoke divers. It's just like, you don't get it. You weren't there.
An ego death, per se?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Whew. It was insane, you know?
Yeah,
I've
man.
heard you
That's
talk about
awesome.
that before, this idea of seeking opportunities to put yourself on a battleground. What do you mean by that?
So I think in FRAS and in smoke diver, like when you're standing there in the morning and you have no idea what's coming, just like can be our lives, right? As a fireman, you have no idea. The next call can be tow pain at 3 a.m. The next call could be this building's on fire. The next call could be X kid got hit by a car. You literally have no idea. It's like the fear of the unknown almost. So both those places were battlegrounds for me. And what that means is like I went like there was mental warfare going on with myself. Again, it wasn't me against any of the instructors. It wasn't me against Chris. It wasn't me against Stewart, in Indiana Smoke Diver. It was me against me. Every single morning when you wake up and you get out of bed, you have a decision. You stay here, it's comfortable, you're in pain, you don't have anything to prove, or you get up and you just start. So every morning for me, when I either sat on that line in FRAS or I sat on that spade, like I felt like it was a battleground. And you see, not so much in FRAS, because some people are still allowed, even if you don't get the patch or like you injure, you get an injury, you're allowed to like follow the course and like learn from it. But in Indiana, like you watch this group get from this to this to this to this. And it seems like you would think maybe people would be like happy, like, oh man, I made it this far. And like there's some of that, but a lot of it's like I was just next to I was just next to this guy yesterday. And like I watched this guy break. And it almost breaks your heart because if this was a fire, like is that the end for this guy? Going back as an instructor in FRAS, I've seen guys get left in scenarios and I've heard them scream like, "Hey, where are you guys at?" And I've heard the bottle, and you hear the bell, and you hear the bell slow down, and you just hear the and the math sucks. And like, it's a scenario, great. I hope you take that lesson with you, but like, understand what just happened. Even though it's a scenario, that guy's dead, right? One breath, he's gone. He's not going home to his wife. He's not going home to his kids. Like, it's a very serious thing. So the people that are there and they don't understand that, or they're not looking at it like this, they're not taking it serious. Like, when I'm there and I watch this group get smaller and my spade got moved and I got shifted to where there's little people, it's like my heart like felt heavy, because it's like we lost all these guys to themselves. Like, they couldn't, who knows what they're thinking in their head. And going back as an instructor again, you see how they are afterwards, post interview, and it's just like, it breaks your heart. So it's a battleground. Every day you go out there, it's warfare with yourself. What are you gonna do? Are you tired? Yeah. Are you gonna do it anyways? You know what I mean? Like, that's a big thing I hear all the time. I'm tired. I don't want to do this. Or are you gonna do it anyways? The house starts on fire next door. We gotta go. We gotta get the kids out. We don't get a choice. If we're tired, you have to move. It's a battleground every day. Even when you go to work and you're tired, doesn't matter what's going on in your life, stress, whatever it is, medical issues, it's a battleground. And you're either going to be there and you're going to fight, or you're just gonna become a regular Joe Schmo that sits there and complacency is gonna kill.
What a
I
good
love it.
reminder of how important instruction is, man. Like your fire service instruction is, we're teaching people potentially life-threatening skills, or skills that are going to be used in a life-threatening event, and how serious it can be.
Yeah, 100%.
Dude, and you touched on something I think is so valuable in training, of like putting yourself in the headspace of, doing any of those skills and drills that you work on at FRAS or at Smoke Diver for real, right? Bailouts, you're in the wire box, like trying to put yourself where you would be mentally, where you're entangled, or the room's flashed over and you've got seconds to go and your life is flashing before your eyes, your fight or flight response is kicking in, and you're just acting, like trying to picture yourself there when you're performing the skills and drills. Because if you just go through the motions in any kind of training, even just a basic structural scenario, right? Let's go check the box. The value you're going to get from that is exponentially less than if you're visualizing yourself in that situation, visualizing yourself making decisions and overcoming setbacks. It's such a powerful tool to make those those high risk, low frequency events like charted territory just a little bit.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's powerful.
Yeah. I get made fun of all the time for that. Bro, you're taking it too serious. I'm like, maybe you're not taking it serious.
That's true. What did you do, maybe physically or mentally, to prepare yourself for I mean, obviously you have kind of like a glimpse through FRAS of like what it might be like to do one of those courses, and then obviously you're kind of like, maybe moving up slightly to the big leagues to do this actual smoke diver class. What was your preparation like for that?
I followed a program with Soft Fleet, which was pretty good. Very, very eye-opening for me. Again, I told you at that point, past FRAS, like my physical training wasn't much since I was younger. Thought I was like indestructible. I'm not. Just checking. I'm not. It's the program, and then I started getting into like 2 days. So with the program, it does a really good job, in my opinion, for anyone that's looking to go to smoke diver. Even if you want to go to FRAS, you want to start on this, like the Soft Fleet Indiana smoke diver program is great. It builds you up in a way that you start with nothing, like just body weight, easy to buy stuff. Like, you don't have to have a full gym. I was able to get a sandbag, some sand, a jump rope. I got a cheaper roller off Facebook Marketplace. All the stuff that they require you to have, a foam roller, and you needed a screen for YouTube. And I started with that, and it builds you up from nothing, doing these movements with no gear on it. And you're going to start putting your gear on in like week 2 or 3. Some of it, I think by week 4 or week 3, one of them, you have full gear on with a mask, and you're doing training. So for me, it was every Wednesday was a run day. I never knew what it was going to be, anywhere from 3.5 to 5 miles. That was like your rest day. I know that for some people they're like resting, like if you're running 5 miles. Trust me, that's a rest day. Monday, Tuesday, you have some
Yeah.
sort of state like warm up. You usually have like a stamina piece. And then you have like a piece in gear. So they make you do like some sort of workout, whether it's with sandbag cleans or whatever it is, tire flips, squats, pull-ups, whatever. And then you do your gear workout, whatever your gear workout is for that day. Hose hoists are incorporated. Wednesday run, Thursday same thing, Friday same thing. Saturdays were like the worst day of the week. That's usually where you do like a deck. The way I did my deck was not the way you were supposed to do a deck. You're supposed to do one flight of steps per diamond. I did one flight per number. So every time I did a deck, I did 84 flights of steps. Indirectly helped me tremendously. Um, it was wild. And the program builds. So you almost feel like you're not getting strong. And that was a big thing for me mentally, which I learned and taught me a lesson in life too. I would go through the program and I'd be like, man, I still can't do this hose hoist. You know, I don't know why I can't do it. And then the next week would come and I'd be like, I still can't do this hose hoist. Like, why am I still getting tired? You know, the next week would come. Why am I still getting tired? Well, by the time you're done with this, it's like 11, 12-week program. They bring you almost back to the beginning and they make you do one like the beginning workouts. And I mean, that's when you'll see the difference. The quantitative measure of where you were after you're like at the end is insane. But the thing is it's like it's cumulative, right? So it gets harder and it gets harder. It's progressive, as Chris would say. It gets harder and harder and harder and harder. So even though you think you're not making progress, you are. It's just you never feel like you are because a lot of people get comfortable with, say, I started at the beginning with the same weight and hose hoisting the same number. Well, if I'm able to get it up, is there any stimulus? No. So then you're not growing. So it's good at causing that stimulus and progressing to where you are getting stronger. You're just doing more reps. So by the time I said, man, I can't do a hose hoist, oh, I was doing 60 up downs, 30 flights of steps, 60 push-ups, 60 mountain climbers, 200 chops, 10 tire flips, 9 hose hoists. And I'm telling myself, well, you're getting tired. Well, yeah, like they've added a ton of work, you know?
Right.
So it's actually a beautiful thing to see. So that was part of the training for that. And then once I hit like 2 months, I ended up hiring a personal trainer to like dial my nutrition in because I had no source of like direction for like where's my nutrition needs to go. So I ended up coughing up the
Mhm.
money. I didn't know about it. I was tired of looking on the internet and hearing different things or talking to different people. So I hired a personal trainer. Said, what do I need to do to gain weight? They gave me this entire equation. I was eating like 225 grams of protein a day. I was eating like 3,500 calories a day, and it still wasn't enough. Like I was just starting to plow through food now. And then at that time, I started to get into a little bit of CrossFit. It wasn't a CrossFit affiliated gym, but a little bit of CrossFit. So I would do my gear workout in the morning, and then I would do CrossFit at night. And there was my 2-a-days, whether that's heavy lifting, deadlifting, cleans, anything on the bar. Your Metcons and CrossFit are really good. It stands for metabolic conditioning. Super good for you. Like high heart rate, low heart rate. High heart rate helps you anticipate how you're gonna do, how you need to perform to keep your heart at its lowest, so it's most efficient, which 100% transfers to the fire ground. That's air consumption right there. Everyone's working so hard when they don't need to. They cut the hole already, and they're all up there. You don't need to do that anymore. You're done. The hole's cut. Wait till you're told to do something else, and take that time to be like, I'm not working right now. Slow the breathing down. Like get the heart rate
Mhm.
to go down, and you'll be able to work, further. But all of that was learned in that period. So like that 4 months of gaining the 20 pounds and training and whatnot, I did not look at all like I felt. Like I felt totally different, like a new person, way stronger. Stamina was way better. Mile times are going down. Mile and a half times are going down. 3.5 mile times are going down. I felt great. Didn't look like it. Did not look like it because my body wasn't like used to taking on that much weight that fast. Haven't lost it. I'm still in the 170 to 180 range. Um, but that's what the training looked like right there. And then a lot of mental, just be ready for it. I mean, nothing will prepare you mentally. Absolutely nothing can fully prepare you mentally. But the program does a good job at mentally frustrating you. And they tell you that right in the beginning of the program. They say this is meant to challenge you mentally. Because when I felt like I couldn't advance and I felt like I wasn't getting stronger and like I couldn't make it, that directly is going to translate into when you feel terrible and you're sleeping and day 2 of smoke diver comes and you make the decision to get up or not. All right, well, I feel terrible, but I'm going to do it.
Are there things you read or, if you were to advise somebody on how to prepare psychologically for a program like this?
Oh,
Any
man,
recommendations?
get rid of the ego. It's got to go. You're not the top dog in the field. Um, Nor should that be the goal, is to be the top dog. The goal should be to have a team, a great team, right? or for everyone to know their weaknesses and their strengths. I might be faster on a ladder than some people. You might be better at chopping than me. You might be better at search than I'm at. You know what I mean? Everyone's got different, understand that about the people. The people next to you is so much more important than you think. You go to work and you work with some guys you've never worked with, you rarely worked with, and no one ever talks. No one ever says, hey, if we have this, what do you do? What are you good at? This is what I'm good at. This is what no one does that. You get there, you make the decision. It's a little too late. So psychologically, be ready to get rid of the ego, talk to people, understand you need to communicate. It's one of the highest causes of death on the fire ground is communication. So you need to be able to communicate and understand that no one's out to get you. It's you versus you. That's the biggest one for me psychologically. These instructors don't care about sending you home. The program's going to do that for them. That's what the program's designed to do. Trust the process. They don't care. They're there to set the standard. That's all they're there for, is to make sure that you aren't getting it any easier than the last guy did, because then it gets watered down, right? Then what does it mean to be a smoke diver? So once you understand that, I'm not saying you're going to pass, but understand that and just go bit by bit. Psychologically understand you're going to want to quit. Quit tomorrow. Don't do it today. You know what I mean? Just get through the day. Go to sleep, wake up, and decide if you want to quit. Well, at least you made it to the next day. Go to PT. At least you made it to the next day at PT. You know what I mean? After PT is done, okay, I'll quit at the end of this day. Before you know it, you're through day 2. And then it's just like, all right, you're going to do it again. The most dangerous part of smoke diver mentally, in my opinion, and this is an opinion, not a fact. Some people tell you different. Some divers will tell you different. The most dangerous period is when you're in that hotel room. That's it. You're free. You're not on the fire. You're not on the battleground anymore. It's just all the time for you to be in this dome by yourself and think and just contemplate and predict what's going to happen. And that's almost dangerous. It is very dangerous because you're creating the scenario that's totally bad. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to fall on this. My knee hurts. What if this happens? What if I look like this? All these things pop in your head. And guess what? None of it's happened. Not one of those things has happened. You haven't even had the chance to go in the morning and see what's going to happen. And it's crazy because so many times I have those conversations with myself where I'm like, this is it. Some nights I couldn't even talk to my wife. I called my wife and just hear my wife's voice. I was like, I can't, I gotta go, it's just all these things are going to be pulling you in multiple directions. And had I listened to any one of those things, it was just like, I'll just save myself now and leave. If I'm not going to make it, I would have never been there. I would have never gotten to experience what I got to experience. So psychologically, be ready, drop the ego, quit tomorrow, and stop thinking about the future. Compartmentalize. Do one thing at a time, one skill at a time, and just take it for what it is. You are not going to be the best at everything. The end of it. There's not one person I have seen yet in any of the classes I've went back that are the best at everything. Even the top performers are not the best at everything. They're just very good at a lot of stuff.
I feel like that's such a powerful message for so many people that listen to this podcast or are interested in FRAS or smoke diver, where a lot of times they're already the go-to guy in their fire department, right? They're passionate about this job, and it's easy to plateau if you don't have maybe mentors or people that are pushing you to be even better than you are at your fire department or, whatever environment you're in. And so that was an eye-opening thing for me to be around groups like that, where it's like, you're not the best at anything. And it's this iron sharpens iron experience where you kill your ego. You don't even care about being the best at anything. And you just can't help but be better from being in an environment like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a cool, such a cool environment. But I want to dig into, so you've got a lot going on, right? From you're instructing at FRAS, smoke diver, you're in an accelerated paramedic program, competing in CrossFit, a million things have happened in your life over the last couple of years. What's your why behind everything that you're driving for? What's the fire inside that's burning, that's, driving you to do everything that you've done over the last couple of years?
All right. Man, the why is so important, right? Why we do a lot of the stuff we do. If you don't have a why, then it's going to be tough to make it in some of these things. My why now has definitely shifted. After going through smoke diver and FRAS, I kind of understand myself better, and I know what'll happen to me if I don't do things, like lift or stay fit or like stay in the program. Like, I just want to be happier with myself, and I think a why for me now is I don't want to go back to who I was prior to FRAS. I don't want to be that guy that's lazy. I don't want to be the dude who rides a recliner. I don't, regardless of what people think about me or whatever. Like, I don't want to be that person. And another part of my why now is, and Casto said this in Georgia's program, is, he says how you have to go back and, teach this stuff. And he says, to approach it like a scalpel and not a hammer, right? So I shouldn't come back and hammer people about smoke diver. It's finesse. Like, some people might not be ready to take that, at once. But more importantly, he clearly says the road's not easy for you anymore. And like, that's a big why for me now is, regardless of who I run into, or the things I deal with, or the people I deal with, whatever they say to me or however they make me feel, it's that there's a bigger message here. I could leave anywhere I'm at and just say, I'm going to go somewhere where the grass is greener. Will it be? Probably not. But like, what am I doing? At what point do I stop and actually make a change? Or do I just go through everything I'm going to go through now? Like Casso explains, like how it's going to be hard in the path for people that have great success and that want to be big people and like, put important messages out. It's hard. It's a rocky road. It's a lonely road because there's all these firemen that are trying to do this, and you're the one fireman that's speaking up and is like, this isn't right, and they're like, shut up, and you're out. So my why now is like, remember what the overall mission is that you have to stay at the place you're at to get to a place down the road, hopefully, that you can change the firemen underneath you. The firemen above you aren't going to change. They're not going to change. You know what I mean? But if I leave now, they're going to turn into this. You know what I mean? You have to stay there and ride out that wave in order to change this. That's a big why now. But my more important why when I was in FRAS and smoke diver, my biological dad was, I don't know, my parents divorced when I was young, 5 years old, something like that. I had stepdad. We were kind of close, but like, it's not the same. You know what I mean? My parents were working all the time and stuff like that. So I feel like I didn't really have, at the time when I was like a teen, like I don't want to say a father figure because like I love my stepdad, you know what I mean? But like, I didn't have someone to teach me everything, you know what I mean? It wasn't like spoon fed to me or anything like that. So that for me, that purpose or that person was filled by my wrestling coach. I wrestled when I was in high school. So that's when I learned about that camaraderie and that like cohesive bond. And man, there's nothing like it. And that's like part of the fire service, right? I mean, two of the guys I wrestled with were both my best men. Like, I still talk to them to this day. We pick up like we left off at the same place. Like, we're great friends. And when I wrestled, I hit a point where we didn't have a lot of money. Our family didn't have a lot of money, so I had to work. And the weekends is when we wrestled. That's the only time I can work because I was in school. So I ended up having to quit wrestling, and I kind of hit this phase where I was like, man, do I want to still wrestle and try and keep this job? Yeah, this is hard to balance. Am I going to be good at wrestling? Am I going to make states? Is it worth it? And I ended up quitting. And when I quit, my wrestling coach told me, and I quote, he said, if you quit now, you'll be a quitter the rest of your life. He said, it gets easier to quit. I understand the message he was trying to get across, and maybe I should respect him because he thought that I was tougher than that. I have no idea. Tough love, but like, that was hard for me to take as a kid. As a 17, 16-year-old kid, I was just like, dang, right? So that hung over me a lot in my life. Like, you can call me a black cloud in some things in life. Everything I went through, I went back to that. And I was just like, every time I had a bad or a downfall in life, like a bottom of the peak, I'm just like, he's right. Yeah, I'm going to be a quitter the rest of my life. So what's the point in going? And that hung over me for years until I went to FRAS. I mean, when I went to FRAS, what was it, 2023? That was 9 years when that guy said that, 9 years ago. And I still had a piece of that in me even in FRAS and after FRAS until I went to smoke diver. And that was probably the biggest part of my why was, I'm not going to let this guy be right. I'm like, this guy's telling me I'm going to quit, and this is my time to prove him right. If I quit, he's right. You know what I mean? So I almost had like this internal, that battleground that's internal, like, are you going to let this guy win? Every time I was in a push-up hold, that guy was in my head, go ahead, quit. You did it when you were this young, do it now. And I'm just like, nah, like it's not gonna happen. So that was a huge why for me, was not even proving someone wrong, but like understanding that I was in a place where when I was younger that like I had no control over it. You know what I mean? So it almost was like a way for me to forgive myself too. Like it wasn't my fault what happened to me when I was younger. You know what I mean? That was a very powerful why for me. And then after I passed smoke diver, like that was it. I don't think about that guy anymore. I'm just like whatever. You know what I mean? I have control over my own life. I determine whether I'm going to at least push and try it or not try it. Not necessarily pass because there's standards for that, but like I can at least make the conscious decision to drive on.
You're almost able to like pivot that and use it for fuel almost, and use that for good rather than bad, which is awesome.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great example of how impactful words can be, right? Where I'm sure his intent was like a tough love, motivation, but not understanding your situation, right? It's like, hey, I'm a kid. I have to go work. My family doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
Um, well, and so now that your why has evolved, right? You don't think about that guy anymore. You've accomplished some things where you were tested to quit, you didn't, and now your why is more about this constant improvement of yourself and those around you. What are some things you do to stay motivated, right? To stay consistent when you don't want to go do the workout for the day, or you don't want to get up and study, whatever it might be. What are some tools or techniques you use in your life?
Man, I don't even know if it's a technique. I just start. That's what I learned from smoke diver and FRAS is like, and I've talked about this before too. Like nothing, nothing is stopping the whooping that's coming. Absolutely nothing. You're either gonna be there or you're not. You're gonna be there with these guys to get when they get destroyed, or you're not. And I understand that very well now. That the days that I don't feel like lifting, with exceptions, right? Like if I'm completely sick, I don't want anyone else sick. We're touching barbells, and yeah, I won't go. But like, when the days I'm tired and I'm just like, I just want to sit on the couch, watch a show, and do nothing, I just tell myself, you have to start. You will feel better by the end of it. Even if you toe the line at smoke diver or FRAS, you will feel better that you towed the line, and it's a push in the right direction. Again, stop thinking about the finish line, and if you're going to get there, just toe the line. You're already better than everyone else who wouldn't tow it. So that's my motivation for myself, is I understand that I will feel better. And not once in my life have I, like physical fitness anyways, towed that line and felt worse. Not once have I towed that line and been like, you were right. You didn't need this. It never happened. It has never happened to me. I've towed that line. I've sat down at the end and I've been like, glad it's over, but yeah, I did it. And that happened to me even with this. I just competed in the CrossFit Open for the first time. And even then, like, I'm just like, why am I doing this? I know I'm not going to be at this level, the level I want to be, because I set a goal for myself. And I just had to toe the line. I just had to start it. And you'd be surprised, each workout I got better. Like I progressed in the ranks. I think in my first rank workout, I was like 49 percentile. And then my next one, I was like 60 something. And then I went to like 70 something. And my goal is to qualify for quarters in 5 years. This would be the year I'm starting. So this is my baseline of where I'm going to be at. And I finished at like 66 percentile. So I have 5 years to close 9% essentially. But even in that, like, I'm just like, just start, man. Just go, just pick up the bar. My coach asks me all the time before the Metcon. I don't know if you guys do CrossFit, but in the Metcon, like, you're going to do some sort of hit workout, whatever it is, and then they start the clock and there's a countdown. And it's a joke, but like, she understands me a little bit better now. And she's like, are you ready? And I say no. And she says 10 seconds. That's it. That's all that needs to be said. No, I'm not, but it's not going to stop me from going. When that alarm comes out at 3 a.m., are you ready? No, but I'm getting my shit on. I'm getting in the truck and we're going. Like, I don't care if I'm not ready. I'm going to do the job that I'm here to do. If that's what I'm here for, quite literally. So that's like, it's this running thing between me and her. She just knows that means Corey's ready. Like, that's as ready as he's gonna get. And that's like my mind and everything now. That's my motivation, is people are starting to understand, ask me if I'm ready, I'll give you a certain answer, but it doesn't mean I won't perform.
I want to touch on one thing with the CrossFit stuff. I started doing CrossFit back in 2017. I've been, in the space. I don't necessarily go to a box, but I try to train that way. And for me personally, it was the best way that I could find to train. Like I remember because when I was younger, bodybuilder, like that's all I cared about was just being jacked and lifting as heavy as I could. And then I put this gear on and I'm gassed and huffing and puffing. And then I kind of like transitioned to or found CrossFit and it kind of like reminded me of like doing like football or wrestling, like conditioning. And I really like that. And then also the competition aspect of like working out next to somebody and you're like, I'm going to beat that guy, right? How important do you feel it is for firefighters to be training in this manner of like adapting or, developing those 3 different energy systems that the body has? Because when we're on the fire ground, you're not just a runner, you're not just a lifter, like you're using everything. So do you feel like it's important for firefighters to be training that way?
Oh, absolutely. It's like the big argument of gear workouts. Like people are like, "Do you do gear workouts?" Well, PFAS, PFOs in your gear. Uh, it dumps a ton of cortisol into the system. It's not good for your recovery afterwards. Like I'm a big fan of everything in moderation, but like I think it's very important to work out in gear. If when we're in gear, we don't bend the same. I don't bend down to pick something up the same when I'm in gear. Therefore, I'm using different muscles, which is the huge part of when people get in gear. They get down to get something and they look stiff almost. And it's like, it's not that you're not a strong dude or you're not flexible. You're not used to doing this and this gear. And that's our job. Like when it comes to like the hardest part of our job, that's it. So if you're going to learn anything in gear, even if it's not stamina, you're going to strengthen those muscles that you in different ways. Like you're going to use this muscle in a different way. And I think that that's something I learned the most when I was in gear is I was so comfortable being in it that it was just, I felt weird when I was outside of gear. You know what I mean? Like when I was in FRAS, I felt bad not having the pack on. I was like, why? My shoulders they were hurting because the pack wasn't on. And you put that pack on, you settle in, you're like, oh, that's where we're supposed to be. That's home right there. Like it's you got to get in it. So I think it's very important to work every aspect of it. Be in gear to get comfortable with those motions and work those little muscle groups that you think you didn't. Even if you just put on the gear and you do something simple calisthenic wise, do a deck of cards, plug in whatever you want to it. You can do lunges, you can do pike pulls, you can do side lunges. I mean, you can do air squats, and just that stuff's going to get you used to being in that gear. But you also got to train the cardiovascular system. You got to train the strength. That's where your HIIT workouts come into play afterwards. Get used to being all the way up to the top with the heart rate and then lowering it down. I met one of the smoke divers my first time going back, Elizabeth Wishart, and she's a absolute beast in CrossFit. She's very high ranked. Um, and when I was talking to her and she was telling me about some of the stuff she did, I had just started CrossFit and she was explaining to me how doing CrossFit and training at lower temperatures like improves your cardiovascular like health essentially, and it trains your heart to like stay lower at a lower rate. Because once we get in gear, our heart's gonna plateau with the heat. Like that's it. And once your heart plateaus, whether you think you got more in you or not, you don't. That's it. That's your stroke volume, buddy. Like your heart's gonna put out what it's gonna put out at this rate. But if you can train that to be lower at this temperature, then when you do that same amount of work, your heart rate will naturally be lower. And at the end of the day, if it's lower, your ejection fraction's better. You're getting more blood out. Not to be nerdy, but it's better for you. So that goes to just show you that it's just as important to do that and not just gear. I know some guys that only work out in gear anymore. Everything's like, we're doing a gear workout. It's like, yeah, great. But again, there is a fine line between doing only gear and yeah, dumping all that cortisol into your blood all the time. Like that's also not good either, you know? So there's definitely, there needs to be a balance in my opinion of what you do as well as your health, right? Your health should be at the top of that and eating. And we all know how we eat at the firehouse. I get stuff all the time for not wanting to eat a certain way, and people were just like, you're gonna wedge, you're not gonna eat the food. It's like, hey man, like I don't want to wake up one night and after the big one just sit down and be like, wait a minute, I think I got some chest pain. I don't want that for myself. So I don't want that for my wife. I don't want that for my future kids. So also got to get the diet right. And, it's part of it.
Love it. Man, to kind of put a bow on this thing, what would you tell maybe the firefighter listening that can kind of identify with the 3-year fireman, right? Where maybe they're feeling a little stuck, a little unmotivated, a little complacent. Like, what advice would you give them?
Man, I would say just start somewhere. Try and improve whatever it is in your life, mental health, again, the diet, physical fitness, whatever you want to be, whatever this idea of a fireman you have in your head of being, and everyone's done it. You just have this idea of like, I want to be this guy one day. I want to be the fireman, this big fireman, or I want to be the guy that gets on a scene, or picture yourself going to that big fire you want to have. Picture the amount of work it's going to take and just understand it's not meant to be easy. That's my biggest piece of advice to somebody. This is not supposed to be easy. Okay? When you understand that and you understand why you feel the way you feel when you start working, it's going to allow you to take that and make changes and not quit because you think that you're not cut out for this. It's hard work. That's okay. All right. And you're going to be tired. I still am tired. If I am going to the roof, I am going to be tired. I'm going to do it in a way that I'm hauling. I'm trying to get this hole cut, you know what I mean? But it's okay to feel tired. It's what you're gonna do when you get there that matters. Everyone in Diver is gonna get tired. Everyone in FRAS is going to get tired. It's what you're gonna do when you get there. So understand that just because you are tired and you feel a certain way, that's normal. That's supposed to happen. Just keep going, right? I mean, I'd rather have a guy that 3 minutes into his lift or into this Metcon, he is already shaky. You know what I mean? Maybe he can't hold the bar any longer, but he does. I'd rather have that guy than someone who doesn't move at all for 4 minutes, but after that is just take down. This guy's going to operate at 70% for 30 minutes. You're going to operate at 100% for 4, and then you're going to give me 20% for the rest. You know what I mean? So like that's what I would tell someone. Understand it's not easy and you're going to feel this way. That's okay. That's normal. I would never work out with anyone like that thinks that about themselves and thinks, well, I'm not good enough. No, just keep going. You're fine. I might work out with Chris and Chris might hold a plank way longer than me or look much better in his plank than I do, but then we might switch to a different workout and it might be different. Like stop comparing yourself to everybody. Stop watching the videos that are saying that look cool and you want to be that, or stop watching the video and you're saying, I can't do this. Stop trying to be like anybody else. Figure yourself out and just start and understand it's not going to be easy. If you can do those 3 things, understand it's not going to be easy, and stop comparing yourself, you're already going to be set aside from so much. That's like my biggest piece of advice. And that's a battle that I still battle with till this day. Sometimes I'm around other people and there's a fine line between competition, like you were saying, Austin, where it's like great competition and that like motivates you. But there's also a part in the back of my head that's always like, man, I got to try and keep up with this person. But like that could be good, but it also could be detrimental if you let it get too far, because then you just don't try. I mean, when I go to the gym, I'm competing with a girl that is 96 percentile. She just made it to semifinals for the CrossFit Games. You know what I mean? I love it.
Yeah.
Because when I look at her, I'm like, there's no way I'm keeping up with her. But even if I can just be a minute behind her, that's a success. If I can come in next month and I can be 56 seconds behind her, that's a success. You know what I mean? Like, be that person. Don't look at her and be like, I'm not going to try. That way it makes it seem like I'm not trying and I really wasn't. And that way I'm not supposed to get close to her. Like, that's don't be that person.
Right.
I feel like so many firefighters, it's easy to lose sight of what drew you to our profession, right? Nobody is here for the money. No one enlists in the military, becomes a firefighter, as part of a get rich quick scheme. Almost everybody does it out of some draw to be challenged, to do something hard, to serve. And it's easy to lose sight of that, where it's like, you're exhausted. Well, that's what hard freaking feels like.
100%.
Right? That's good. That's what drew you to this.
Right.
I love that advice to just pick something and start, because there's never going to be a perfect time. There's never going to be a perfect environment. You just start with one little decision at a time. Love that. Man, so this has been an awesome podcast, and thank you for coming on, sharing your experience. Any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Last thought, and this is something, it's more of a phrase, I guess. I don't know. A guy told me this when I was in college, and he was a fireman, and I stand by it to this day. No matter what you do in life and being a fireman or whatever it is, but in this case, we're going to talk about specifically being a fireman. The reputation you should strive for is somebody saying you're a great fireman. This guy told me when I was younger and I didn't understand it. The highest accolade you could have is at your funeral, somebody saying Gotay was a great fireman. That's it. Like, be the fireman that's striving for that, try and just be the person that everyone understands and is like, this was the guy. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean you have to be a captain, chief, boss, whatever it is. You don't have to be any of that. You can be a senior fireman and leave an amazing and massive impact on the fire service. So be the person that's trying to leave an impact, and simply, that's all I want. I just want people when I die to know that I was a good fireman. I don't need anything else. I don't care about anything else, any medals, whatever it is. I just want people to understand that. So if you're into the fire service, that should be all of our goals, is be a great fireman.
Right on, dude.
Austin, any saved rounds?
No, man. Awesome episode. I think one of the biggest takeaways, right, is just try and stack those micro wins up and just keep pushing, even when it gets tough. So, no, man, I appreciate you coming on. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fire Dog Podcast. If you've enjoyed this conversation, you can find this episode and many more like it on our website, firedog.us, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow along on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at the Fire Dog Podcast. That is the Fire DAWG Podcast. This episode was supported by Roll Call Coins, telling the story of fire departments and teams through premium custom challenge coins. Learn more at rollcallcoins.com. It was also supported by AOS Services, helping fire departments stay mission ready with worldwide firefighting equipment compliance. Find out more at aosservicesinc.com. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in this conversation, consider sharing it with a friend, a coworker, or someone in your firehouse. This episode was recorded with Chris and Austin and guest Corey Gotay. Until next time, stay safe.